Hi, Sally Walker here, your hormone and slow age expert, and welcome to Sunlight Week. Okay, so talked a lot about the different types of rays from the sun, and talked a lot about vitamin D. And there's lots of other articles in the blog, obviously. But today I'm going to talk about sunscreen. So I've called it Sunscreen 101, and there is a little article as well. So you need to read that because that's where I've listed all the chemicals. Okay, why are we using sunscreen? Well, the purpose fundamentally is because we need to block the UV rays. Now remember, we have a dilemma because we need the UV rays to make vitamin D. But unfortunately, if we get overexposure to the UV rays, then we risk, worst case scenario, of instigating a skin cancer. But it would damage our skin cells and make them look old very quickly, etc. So we want to avoid overexposure, but we need to have a little bit of exposure because we need the vitamin D. Challenge, problem. Okay, so what we need to look for in a sunscreen. Now, first of all, you're looking at the SPF, the sun protection factor, and it can say things like 15, it can say 30, it can say 50, etc., etc. So what does that mean, really? Okay, well, actually, it's telling you how long it will take. How long does it take your skin to go red when you're sitting in the sun? Okay, now, if you're using a factor 15 or if you're using a factor 30 or you're using a factor 50, what it's saying is it will take you 15 times longer, 30 times longer, 50 times longer for your skin to go red than if you weren't using the sunscreen. That's what it's telling you. Okay, so hey, it might be 30 minutes, it might be 15 minutes, it might be 50 minutes, it might be longer. We don't really know. So you have to keep a little bit of an eye on if you didn't use the cream, how long would it take you for your skin to go red, kind of thing. So what is necessary here is that you don't misunderstand and think that it's going to last for a long time when you put your cream on. You possibly want to be topping up more often or more frequently than you possibly do, so you get the protection. Many people unfortunately put it on and they think that'll be okay for the day, or think it'll be okay for the morning, etc. They then go in the water and they don't put on any more when they come out. And we need to talk about that water and what sunscreen does to the marine life as well. There's an article about that you can read in the blog. It's not good. Okay, so now so creaming once or twice a day might not be enough. Okay. Now, unfortunately, many of these sunscreens contain chemicals that work as filters to block the UVs. So, that's why we're using them. But unfortunately, many of these chemicals have a very negative effect on you, your children, and the marine life. So we need to be very aware of what the chemicals that we need to avoid. So you want to start getting your bottles out and have a little look on the labels to see if they have any of the chemicals which are listed in the article below. So things like oxybenzone, this is one of the baddies, real baddie thing. So it is a chemical which will absorb the UV rays, but unfortunately it will be absorbed by the skin and it mimics estrogen, so it can create all kinds of imbalances and problems, and one of those could be infertility. Okay, in us humans. But if you go in the water and you're snorkeling around and swimming around, etc., it will also affect the marine life in exactly the same way. Okay, so think a little bit about that. If you're not overly concerned with your own hormone balance, which I think you should be, but if you're not, then think of the hormone balance of the marine life, because that will be affected as well. So there are several of these different chemicals which you definitely do not want in your sun creams, and many of these are cheaper, they're readily available, and you need to have a little look at the lists which are written below and make sure that they are not there. So today there are a new chemical version which are which are available, which do not affect the marine life and do not create hormone imbalances, so they would be a safer version. So there's an article down there called down there in my blog is called Stay Safe in the Sun, and here I've talked about how you could choose a sunscreen Now, you could choose a mineral based, and that will give a physical factor. So these minerals, zinc and titanium, they actually reflect the sun's rays, so they don't actually come into the skin. But unfortunately, they're a little bit heavy as such, and when you put them on your skin, it can be very white, if you like. So people don't really like to use them. So what they did was they being the sunscreen world producers, they started using them as nanoparticles. So they made them very, very, very small. But unfortunately, the nanoparticles also have a very negative effect on marine life. So it's very difficult. So you if you don't want to be completely white, then your maybe it's not that cream for you. But it's definitely better for yourself because you haven't got any of these bad chemicals which are going to affect your hormone balance. And it's also better for the marine life because in their full particle size, they don't affect marine life, but nanoparticles do. So you want to be looking at that as well on the ingredient list of your cream. Now, the new generation of chemical filters, okay, so they are biodegradable, which is a really good thing, and they are eco-friendly and they're reef safe. This is what they're saying about these new ones. So ethyl hexyl triazone, it is written down in the articles below. This one is stay safe in the sun. They're so difficult to read or to pronounce these chemicals. Okay, so that one is going to give you a stable UVB protection, and now you want the UVA protection because they're also a problem related to skin aging, especially, and that can also lead to skin cancer. And that is a name that is 4 words long. So diethylaminohydroxy benzoyl hexyl benzoate. As I said, they're very difficult to pronounce, so have a little read. But that gives the full protection for the UVA. So we've got the short and the long rays here, and it protects. Okay, so there are a couple of recommendations for creams, and these companies use the chemical protection. One of them also uses the mineral protections. Okay, it's the best that we can at the moment. So I was talking with Laura Bonet, who is the owner of Amazing Space, who makes one of the creams, and as she was saying that the sun's UV rays can be way more damaging than the chemical filters, and especially the new chemical filters, which are much more eco-friendly, much more body friendly, much more marine life friendly, etc., and are biodegradable. So it's getting better, isn't it? It's getting better. So remember, not using sun cream as opposed to using a sun cream is not the way forward. Or I would say you want to be using some of the other stay safe in the sun. So you want to be getting out of the sun. You don't want to be in it all the time. And especially those hours in the middle of the day, just want a little bit so you can get your vitamin D production. But otherwise, they are the worst ones. So shade, cover up with clothes, etc. Get out of the sun, etc. All of these things need to be part of your Stay Safe in the Sun program. Happy hormones. Happy life.